According to official reports, Iran launched 58 missiles in a coordinated strike. The scale, timing, and targeting of this operation have drawn immediate international attention. This was not a routine exchange, it was a calculated demonstration. According to official reports, Iran launched 58 missiles in a single coordinated operation. The number itself immediately drew attention from military analysts and defense officials around the world. This was not an isolated rocket exchange or a limited tactical response. The scale suggests planning at a higher operational level. Launching 58 missiles requires preparation. It involves logistics, positioning, command authorization, targeting data, and synchronized timing. Ballistic missile deployment is not improvised. Fueling procedures, transporter erector launcher movements, and communication security all indicate structured coordination. Such an operation reflects deliberate intent rather than spontaneous escalation. The quantity is strategically significant. In military planning, numbers communicate capacity. 58 missiles fired within a short window demonstrate stockpile depth. They also test an adversary's air defense saturation limits. Missile defense systems are designed to intercept threats, but large salvos are meant to stretch those systems. Even advanced interception networks face mathematical constraints when confronted with simultaneous trajectories. Defense analysts often assess missile launches through three measurements: volume, accuracy, and survivability. Volume in this case was substantial. When dozens of projectiles are launched together, they complicate radar tracking and interception prioritization. Air defense operators must make rapid calculations. They must determine which targets pose the highest threat and allocate interceptors accordingly. This creates pressure in real time. The coordination element is equally important. Reports indicate that the missiles were launched in a structured sequence rather than randomly. Sequencing affects flight timing and arrival intervals. Closely timed impacts increase defensive strain. Space timing can prolong alert status and extend engagement cycles. Both approaches serve strategic purposes. The launch also highlights industrial and technological infrastructure. Sustaining a missile program capable of producing and maintaining such quantities reflects long-term investment. Missile systems require engineering support, testing facilities, storage security, and trained personnel. A large-scale launch demonstrates that these systems are operational, not symbolic. Another factor is geographic positioning. Ballistic missiles require pre-surveyed launch sites or mobile deployment corridors. Moving multiple launch units without detection involves operational security and camouflage planning. The ability to position and fire dozens of missiles suggests confidence in both mobility and concealment capabilities. International observers interpret volume as messaging. A single missile can send a warning. Dozens communicate seriousness. The difference is psychological as well as tactical. Large salvos project the image of readiness and preparedness. They signal that the launching state is capable of sustained operations if necessary. From a regional defense perspective, the event also serves as a live systems test. Missile trajectories, interception rates, radar response times, and command coordination are all observed by multiple parties. Military planners collect data during such events. Even limited engagements provide valuable operational insight. The number 58, therefore, carries layered meaning. It represents capacity, it reflects coordination, it suggests logistical depth, it tests defense networks, and it communicates calculated resolve. In modern strategic environments, scale itself becomes a form of signaling. The launch was measured in quantity, timing, and visibility, ensuring that its impact extended beyond the immediate physical targets and into broader strategic calculations. The launch demonstrated a clear display of military capability. Firing dozens of ballistic missiles within a coordinated window reflects more than intent. It reflects operational readiness. Ballistic missile systems are complex platforms. They require trained crews, secure communications, mobile launch infrastructure, and reliable command chains. The ability to activate these systems simultaneously indicates a functioning and responsive military structure. Missile operations begin long before launch. They involve surveillance, target selection, trajectory calculations, and authorization protocols. Command approval must move through secure channels. Units must receive synchronized timing instructions. Each launcher must be aligned and calibrated. When multiple systems operate in unison, it shows integration between technical teams and strategic command. The use of ballistic systems also highlights technological maturity. Ballistic missiles travel at high speeds and follow calculated flight paths that make interception challenging. Their effectiveness depends on propulsion stability, guidance systems, and structural reliability under extreme stress. A coordinated launch suggests confidence in engineering standards and maintenance procedures. It signals that the systems are not experimental. They are deployable. Military capability is also measured by readiness cycles. Some missile forces require extended preparation times, others maintain rapid launch status. The speed at which a state can move from alert to launch demonstrates preparedness levels. In this case, the scale of deployment indicates that assets were either pre-positioned or capable of rapid activation. That level of readiness is itself strategic messaging. Another important element is range. Ballistic missile capability is not only about quantity, it is about reach. Range determines strategic depth. It defines deterrence posture. When missiles can travel significant distances, they alter regional security calculations. Neighboring states must account for that reach in their defense planning. Range influences alliance decisions, defense budgets, and deployment strategies. Accuracy is equally critical. Modern missile systems rely on guidance mechanisms that improve strike precision. These may include inertial navigation systems, satellite-based corrections, or terminal phase adjustments. Demonstrating operational launches allows observers to evaluate probable accuracy levels. Even without confirmed impact data, trajectory consistency and reported targeting patterns provide insights into capability. Survivability also defines military strength. Missile forces often rely on mobility to reduce vulnerability. Transporter erector launchers can relocate quickly, making preemptive targeting more difficult. Coordinated launches suggest that multiple units were positioned, protected, and able to operate without disruption. That indicates a degree of survivability within the force structure. Large-scale deployment also tests logistical support networks. Fuel supply chains, maintenance teams, security perimeters, and communication redundancy must all function effectively. If one element fails, coordination breaks down. The absence of visible disruption during a multi-missile launch signals internal system reliability. From a strategic standpoint, visible capability reinforces deterrence. Military strength is not only about possession of hardware, it is about demonstrated functionality. When systems are used in coordinated operations, they move from theoretical capacity to observable reality. Other states recalibrate their assessments based on what they see, not just what is claimed. This demonstration therefore extends beyond the immediate event. It informs intelligence assessments. It influences regional defense posture. It affects diplomatic negotiations. Capability shown in practice carries more weight than capability described in doctrine. By executing a synchronized missile launch at scale, the state communicated that its systems are active, organized, and ready for sustained operations if required. Beyond the technical and operational dimensions, the strike carried layered strategic messaging. Military actions at this scale are rarely limited to battlefield objectives alone. They are designed to communicate. In this case, the messaging appears structured around deterrence, reach, and resolve. Deterrence operates through perception. A state seeks to influence the calculations of its adversaries by demonstrating capability and willingness. By launching 58 missiles in a coordinated operation, Iran signaled that it retains the ability to respond with force under defined conditions. The volume of the launch amplifies that signal. It moves beyond symbolic retaliation and enters the realm of measurable capacity. Deterrence depends not only on possession of weapons, but on credible demonstration. The second element is reach. Missile technology extends influence beyond immediate borders. Range determines strategic depth. When a state demonstrates that it can project force across significant distances, it reshapes regional security assumptions. Neighboring countries, alliance partners, and defense planners must reassess exposure and vulnerability. Reach affects air defense deployments, early warning systems, and strategic partnerships. A visible launch reinforces the reality of that reach. Strategic messaging through reach also has a psychological dimension. It signals that geographic buffers may not provide insulation. Even if interception systems are active, the knowledge that missiles can travel long distances introduces uncertainty into planning models. That uncertainty itself is a strategic tool. The third element is resolve. Resolve concerns political will. It addresses the question of whether a state is prepared to act when challenged. Large-scale coordinated launches suggest decision-making at high levels of authority. Such actions are rarely taken without calculated political approval. By proceeding with the operation, leadership conveys that it is prepared to accept the diplomatic and security consequences of escalation within controlled limits. Resolve is often assessed over time. However, singular events can shape perceptions rapidly. When a state responds with visible force, it reinforces the perception that it will not remain passive under pressure. That perception influences future crises. Adversaries may adjust their behavior based on assumptions about likely responses. Strategic messaging also extends to domestic audiences. Demonstrations of military capability can reinforce internal narratives of strength and sovereignty. While international observers focus on deterrence and escalation risks, domestic constituencies may interpret the action as defense of national interests. Managing both external and internal perception is part of comprehensive strategic communication. The calibrated nature of the launch further supports the messaging framework. There was no immediate declaration of full-scale war. There was no indication of uncontrolled expansion. This suggests an attempt to send a signal without triggering irreversible escalation. Controlled intensity is itself a message. It indicates that the action was measured rather than impulsive. International reactions are part of the messaging cycle. Statements calling for restraint, alerts issued by defense ministries, and diplomatic engagement all demonstrate that the signal was received. In strategic terms, communication is complete only when acknowledged. The swift global response confirms that the launch achieved visibility. Strategic messaging through military action is inherently risky. Misinterpretation can lead to unintended escalation. However, states often calculate that controlled demonstrations strengthen deterrence more than silence. In this case, the scale, coordination, and visibility of the missile launch suggests that the primary objective extended beyond immediate tactical outcomes and into the broader realm of signaling intent, capacity, and political determination. The international reaction to the missile launch was immediate and measured. Within hours, regional governments issued official statements. Most emphasized restraint and stability. The language used was cautious. Leaders avoided inflammatory rhetoric. The priority appeared to be preventing further escalation. Neighboring countries placed their defense systems on heightened alert. Airspace monitoring increased. Military commands reviewed readiness levels. In regions where tensions are already elevated, rapid security reassessment is standard procedure. The objective is precaution, not provocation. Even states not directly involved in the confrontation adjusted their surveillance posture. Western governments responded through coordinated diplomatic channels. Official briefings acknowledged the seriousness of the launch while reiterating calls for de-escalation. Defense ministries confirmed they were closely monitoring developments. Some reaffirmed their commitments to regional allies. Others emphasized the importance of international law and proportional response. The United Nations also addressed the situation. Statements from UN representatives focused on stability and dialogue. The emphasis remained consistent: avoid further military expansion. In moments like these, multilateral institutions aim to create diplomatic space. Even if immediate resolutions are unlikely, public calls for restraint help frame the global narrative. Financial markets reacted with caution. Energy prices showed sensitivity, reflecting concerns about potential supply disruptions in a region critical to global oil and gas flows. Shipping routes and insurance risk assessments were reviewed. These economic responses highlight how military events can influence global systems beyond the battlefield. Allied military forces in the broader region increased coordination. Intelligence sharing intensified. Surveillance assets, including satellite and airborne monitoring systems, focused on tracking further movements. Such coordination does not necessarily signal imminent action. It reflects precautionary defense planning during periods of uncertainty. Diplomatic back channels likely became active as well. In high-tension scenarios, public statements are often accompanied by private communication. These channels serve to clarify intentions, reduce misinterpretation, and manage escalation risks. While not visible to the public, they are central to crisis stability. Global powers outside the immediate region also issued statements. Some called for immediate de-escalation. Others emphasized the importance of proportionality. A few expressed concern about the broader security implications. The diversity of responses reflects differing strategic interests, but the overall tone remained focused on preventing expansion of conflict. International reaction also shapes deterrence calculations. When multiple governments respond swiftly, it signals that the event has crossed a threshold of significance. Visibility matters. Silence can be interpreted as indifference. Measured reaction communicates awareness without immediate escalation. Military alliances faced renewed scrutiny. Commitments to collective defense were reaffirmed in some capitals. However, there was no immediate indication of expanded direct engagement. This restraint suggests that global actors are attempting to contain the situation rather than widen it. Media coverage worldwide further amplified the event. Continuous analysis, satellite imagery reviews, and expert commentary increased public awareness. Public perception can influence political decision-making. Governments must balance domestic expectations with strategic caution. The overall international response can be characterized as vigilant but restrained. No major power announced immediate retaliatory expansion. Instead, the focus remained on monitoring, communication, and preparedness. This collective posture indicates recognition of the risks associated with rapid escalation and the importance of maintaining strategic stability in an already volatile environment. The broader impact on regional and global security is still developing. Events of this scale do not exist in isolation. They influence military planning, diplomatic positioning, and strategic calculations across multiple capitals. When dozens of missiles are launched in a coordinated strike, defense establishments worldwide reassess risk levels. In the immediate aftermath, regional militaries elevated alert status. Air defense networks reviewed interception data. Radar tracking systems analyzed flight paths and response timing. These technical evaluations contribute to long-term defense adjustments. Even a single large-scale launch can reshape procurement priorities and readiness protocols. Heightened alert conditions also increase the risk of miscalculation. When forces operate in elevated readiness, response times shorten, decision cycles become compressed. In tense environments, rapid judgments can carry significant consequences. This dynamic makes communication channels more important. Military hotlines and diplomatic contacts help prevent unintended escalation. The event also affects alliance structures. Security partnerships often hinge on deterrence credibility. Allies seek reassurance that defense commitments remain firm. Public affirmations from partner governments serve to stabilize expectations. At the same time, alliance members must weigh the costs of deeper involvement. This balance between reassurance and restraint is central to maintaining regional equilibrium. From a strategic perspective, missile exchanges test defensive architectures. Interception success rates, sensor coordination, and command integration are carefully studied. These observations influence future military investment. States may accelerate upgrades to missile defense systems or expand surveillance coverage. In this way, a single event can trigger long-term structural changes in regional defense posture. Global markets also reflect security uncertainty. Energy corridors, maritime shipping lanes, and insurance risk models respond quickly to perceived instability. Even limited escalation can increase volatility. Economic sensitivity reinforces diplomatic urgency. Governments understand that prolonged tension can carry financial consequences beyond the immediate region. The psychological dimension should not be overlooked. Public perception of instability can influence political decision-making. Citizens expect security and predictability. Visible military exchanges challenge that expectation. Governments therefore balance firmness with caution, aiming to deter further aggression while avoiding actions that could broaden the conflict. Another factor is strategic signaling beyond the region. Major powers observe how crises unfold. They assess response patterns, alliance cohesion, and escalation thresholds. These observations inform global strategic planning. Regional conflicts often serve as reference points for broader geopolitical competition. The key uncertainty remains intent. Was the missile launch designed as a contained signal, or does it represent the early phase of a wider strategy? At present, there is no confirmed indication of full-scale expansion. However, the potential for follow-on actions cannot be dismissed. Military planners typically prepare for multiple contingencies. Diplomatic efforts now play a critical role. Back-channel discussions, regional mediators, and international institutions attempt to maintain stability. Even limited communication can reduce misunderstanding. Crisis management depends on clarity of intention as much as on military capability. The situation therefore remains fluid. Alert levels are elevated, strategic calculations are under review. Governments are balancing deterrence with de-escalation. While immediate large-scale war has not materialized, the security environment has shifted. Such shifts can persist long after the headlines fade, shaping regional stability and global strategic posture in the months ahead.